welcome to Silver Screen News with us, the Silver Screen Dudes. I'm Anthony Jordan.
I'm Nicola Rowe.
And today is our movie Mount Rushmore. Basically, I've got my top 10, Nick's got his top 10, and together we have to create the top 4 of that brand of movies.
Yep, and being the two British boys we are, and this is our first ever episode, guys, in the timely manner that it is, we're going to be starting with Mr. 007, Mr. James Bond.
This one will leave you shaken and not stirred, I guarantee you.
That was bad, man. That's
why you're left shaking.
All right, that was better. Do you want to start with your top 10?
Okay, right.
Wait, just before we start, let's explain the way this works, all right? So the way we're going to come up with that Mount Rushmore is we've each made a top 10 list separately. AJ's going to give his top 4, then I'm going to give, his bottom 4, then I'm going to give my bottom 4, all right? Then he's going to give his next 4, I'm going to give my next 4, then we're going to give our top 2. If we have same movies in the list, the movie which is higher, we'll punt for that and then talk about it when we come to the higher point in the list. Now, the way we make our Mount Rushmore is we're going to argue. So that's going to come once we've done our top 10. And he's going to lose. Fact.
We might have similar points. Right, but here we go.
Well, I think our number 1 might be similar.
Number 10 is going to be a bit of a shocker. Now, it's going to be a shocker to those of you who have seen it. It's going to be a bit of a shocker to those of you who haven't seen it. Because it's Spectre. What? Exactly. Where does the logic come in there?
Or lack thereof.
Here we go. Exactly. Yeah.
Starting already.
Explain it to me, Anne. This is what you're all saying to me. Spectre's at number 10. Why? Because I haven't seen it. Exactly. How do you make it in your top 10 and you haven't seen it? Because the advert has captivated me like no other James Bond movie has done. It's topped the box office.
That's true.
It's topped the box office, and I haven't heard any negative feedback thus far, and I don't expect to. The whole concept of it.
I've heard mixed things. Well, I don't want to cut you off, but I've heard that it's not as good as Casino Royale and Skyfall, but it's way better than Quantum of Solace.
Okay.
I've heard the story doesn't carry the way that Skyfall does. I haven't seen it either, guys. Disclaimer. This is a top 10 list of everything before Spectre. Okay? If you think Spectre should be in the top 10, comment away. Sorry, man. Carry on.
I'm hoping that once I've seen it, it would actually be higher up in my list. But as it stands, no Bond movie has ever got me as excited, and that's why I had to put it in.
Okay. You mean of recent years? Trailer-wise, you mean?
Trailer-wise.
Yeah.
Trailer-wise. From what I've seen, I have my number 1 and my number... number 1, I have my number 1, and I don't actually believe a Bond movie will be able to knock it off that top spot later on. Okay, number 9. I don't even know if this is on your list, but I think we will have a good laugh about it.
I think I'm scared. I'm really scared. Does it involve lasers?
It does indeed. Not
Go on.
Star Wars lasers. Yes, it's the one and only Moonraker.
Are you insane?
It's Bond in space. James Bond has done it all, and he even went to space. And it sounds stupid, but in a top 10, it's very difficult, and I chose to be a bit out there with it. I just think it was something new. We have there are concepts of Bond, and it was something different. Why not? Okay, it's not on your list, so go ahead.
Okay, let me put it this way, all right? Okay, let's start with the redeeming qualities of Moonraker. Jaws, who's one of the most iconic Bond villains. He didn't start in Moonraker, and I actually think Moonraker ruined Jaws. He speaks.
Well, here's to us.
I was like, what? No, you don't speak. That's one of the intimidating things about you. You don't show a villain, or some villains don't talk, right? I thought it was a good idea that if I remember, yes, it was. This is post Blofeld, post old Spectre, not Spectre movie, Spectre organization of the old Bonds, right? So they had to come up with a new villain. Drax and his Moonraker project, original fun idea, but man, it was bad. And I was telling you at the beginning of the show about the cheesiness of Bond. This is where I agree with the fans of the new Nitty Gritty, where you talk about making James Bond too cartoonish. Pew, pew, pew.
It is what it is. But no, as I said, it was something new. Not perfect, and that's why it's where it is. It's at number 9 because it wasn't something perfect.
Shouldn't be at number 20.
What you did mention was a key fact that got slightly ruined is what I'm bringing in for my number 8. And I believe you've got this on your list as well. The Spy Who Loved Me.
Spy Who Loved Me is definitely, yeah. What number do you have it at? 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list too, definitely. It's higher up, so we'll punt for that, yeah?
Okay, cool. Number 7, Dr. No.
Okay, I've got Dr. No at number 8. We can talk about it.
Okay, cool. But it's where it started. It's where it started. No more needs to be said.
Underneath the mango tree.
We've got what arguably the largest franchise in film.
53 years back.
There you go. 53 years, and it's movie after movie. And I'm not saying we wouldn't have had it, but we didn't have it before that. So how can we not acknowledge it?
There's no argument.
There's no acknowledging it. So, Dr. No.
It started it all. You know, that movie basically... It's obvious to say because it was the first one, but so many movies which have been franchises have drawn elements from their first movie and then veered off in different directions. This one is like the blueprint for a Bond movie, the entrance for a Bond girl, you know, with Honey Rider, Ursula Andrews, and the Underneath the Mango Tree song, which Halle Berry then copied.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's so iconic. That shot with her and the bikini belt. Sean Connery looking young and handsome. Funny fact about Sean Connery you may not know. He wore a toupee for every single Bond movie.
That's why it would explain a lot. Okay, there you go.
You've got that idea of those journeys to very tropical and, you know, far off destinations in the Caribbean. You know, in the 60s, I mean, I'm not that old, but the shots in the Caribbean of that nature must have given a wow factor. You had that kind of cunning, I'm going to kill you, Mr. Bond villain. And above everything, Dr. No, let's not forget, was a member of Spectre.
Yeah.
All right. And he set up that whole follow-through story of what Spectre meant in terms of the James Bond storyline. You know, it all started at Dr. No for the reason alone that it allowed the continuation by setting it up in such a perfect way. It wasn't screaming to be a franchise.
No.
In fact, I don't know if this is true, but I believe that the first copies of Dr. No that were released to the general public did not have at the end James Bond Will Return. It was re-edited and re-released while it was still out to include James Bond Will Return because of its success. So it wasn't veering to be a franchise. And Dr. No's definitely in the top 10, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. That's over to you. Actually,
That was your number. That was your 7, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. My number 10 is Rocket Man. It's Thunderball. All right, great song sung by the one and only Tom Jones. I'm not even going to attempt to sing that. No. It was the follow-up to Goldfinger, which is, I'm guessing, on your list.
Yes.
Yes, and much higher on my list too. But it kind of took those elements of Goldfinger and the gadgetry and took them to a whole other level. It didn't go over the top the way that Moonraker did in space, I think. But, you know, the idea of that rocket, the jetpack, it was so cool. You know, it had a good villain, you know, and we're getting closer to Spectre here. We're getting closer to that unseen character stroking the white cat, whose name we shall mention later. You know, this is the number 2 of Spectre who we're dealing with now. We're getting into serious territory. This is a bad villain we got here. You got, I think Stuart Cove's dive shop helped in the shooting of the first ever underwater scenes. Shameless plug, I'm a big diver and I like underwater cinematography. You can check out my YouTube channel, Real Freedom Productions. It'll be in the description, all right, guys? But the underwater shots, considering this was made in the early 70s, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. It was such a moment for James Bond. Underwater cinematography, cutting the rope, putting the camouflage net over the plane to disguise it, all the sharks. It was so cool. It had so much to it.
It was a good one.
And I can't remember who the Bond girl was, but I'll remember a scene which for some reason really got me excited as a very young man, is when the villain, Mr. Patchak, why am I blanking on this? He's got the lead actress in his big private yacht, and he says, "I want answers from you." And he holds up a cigar and an ice cube, and he torture time, and I will use this for hot, this for cold. And then you just hear this, from the room. I was like, yeah, I don't know why that went with me. My number 9, Live and Let Die. Is it on your list?
It is. It's actually higher up.
Is it higher up? Okay, we'll punt for it. We'll talk about that in a minute. My number 8, we've already talked about, is Dr. No. My number 7, although he comes in for a lot of hatred, Mr. George Lazenby's version of James Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Is that with you?
No, go for it.
Okay, do you know why I think this one is so important? Put George Lazenby aside a minute. Actually, you know what? Don't put George Lazenby. I'd like to say this about him. He wasn't a bad Bond. I think it's almost trendy to say, oh, he was so bad. You want to see a bad James Bond? Watch the original Casino Royale and Nevin, all right? That was a bad James Bond. I actually thought that considering it was a follow-up to Sean Connery, he didn't have the looks, he didn't have the suave of Connery.
He's bad in comparison. I think that's what he's
But so is everyone. There isn't a Bond like Connery.
We'll get onto that after. What I'm saying is if you've got Connery, then you've got the bad reception. That's one. Then what comes in is someone else takes on after you, and he's still done better than you, but he's still not Connery. So each time you're getting pushed further down the ladder, and I think that's where his issue is.
Yeah, okay, well, taking it in perspective, in the time it came out, I actually think George Lazenby added an interesting dimension to James Bond. It sounds funny, but if you watch the James Bonds consecutively, chronologically, one after the other, and you go straight from Connery to Lazenby, it feels strange not seeing Connery in that role, but the dimension he added was that fighting ability, the aggressiveness, which I personally think has been taken a little too far in the more modern James Bonds. But he looked like he could whoop some ass. This is now PG-13 rated. All right? But he looked like he could handle himself. Now, moving on from Lazenby, the main reason I put On Her Majesty's Secret Service there, we've never seen James Bond more vulnerable. He gets married in this one.
Yeah.
The villain, who I don't want to talk about yet because he's first appearing in a James Bond higher up, kills his wife. And that's how the movie ends. I mean, that's quite a moment for James Bond. And that recurs throughout a lot of James Bonds. There's License to Kill, where Felix Leiter gets married and his wife says to him, was it something I said? And Felix says, he was married once. But that was, it's a recurring theme. James Bond has been married. And he's still reeling and hurting from it. Not in the new ones because they realigned the chronology. But it was a big moment. And for that big moment alone, and for the fact that James Bond's enemy hit him so hard where it hurts, I put it on my list.
Okay.
So that's my number 7. Okay, go from your 6 through to 3.
Right, this one is because I'm just such a fan of the Pierce Brosnan element of it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good one. It's not on my list, so go ahead.
Do you know what? It was a follow-up to what I believe was a very fantastic film, which I'm not going to get into just yet. But
It's way higher, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Mine too.
It's a lot higher. The concept was right. We had something. What would you do? What was the tagline? If you knew tomorrow's news today, the whole concept.
Tomorrow's news today. Yeah.
It was an interesting concept. We had the elements of Bond to it as well, and
The BMW.
Yeah.
Desmond Llewellyn had a great line. What was it? Thought you'd paid more attention to a female voice, Mr. Bond. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I remember. That was one of my favorite parts of Tomorrow Never Dies, that remote-controlled BMW. We missed the Aston.
Yeah, of course.
What a way to make up for it, huh?
Exactly.
It's like, no, remote-controlled BM. Anyone? Yes, please.
It was action-packed. It has all the elements, as you said, of a Bond movie.
Minus 2 things for me.
Being
The Bond girls.
not the most fantastic, but still to be respected.
The villain.
You can have we have the out
Was it
there
Elliot
Bond.
Carver, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's further down, but I couldn't eliminate it. And I think in terms of the other Brosnan films, as much as I respect him, I have one further down, but that was my second favourite in terms of what he had to offer. So, yeah.
It was, the thing about the Brosnan Bond movies is that they unfortunately progressively got a bit worse and worse, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it all kind of went wrong with, I thought Christmas only came once a year. You should know what I'm talking about if you're a Bond fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Denise Richards really didn't help that series. But look, do you know my problem with Tomorrow Never Dies? I thought that the whole idea that they were maybe it was a bit too ahead of its time. The way you can basically, a lot of movies have explored this now with the way that you could basically ruin a city, a country, a nation, the world even, from the comfort of your laptop if you know what you're doing, right? I think the idea that they were manipulating so many elements around them from a stealth boat at the time. Now I think it would make a lot more sense, but at the time I was like,
Yeah. But do you know what it is? I think it was the dawning of that era. I think we just got internet and stuff. Yeah,
it was maybe too ahead of its time.
I think I can agree with you. It probably had that element of ahead of its time, but it was also a way that we could look and think, "Wow, is that what the internet can do?" And as we've passed on in time, we go, "Wow, that is what the internet can do."
So that was your number 6, right?
Yeah.
All right, what do you got at number 5?
One that you mentioned earlier, so I'll let you take it. Live and Let Die.
Oh yeah. No. I mentioned it. That was my number 9. Live and Let Die. All right, now we're getting into cheesy Bond territory of the best nature. The man who cannot die, Mr. Baron Samedi. All right, now this was fantastic, cheesy James Bond stuff. The voodoo people, resurrecting him constantly, and the effects were so bad. When you could tell his face was porcelain.
Do you know what?
Oh man,
we're from an era that can look back and say that. At the time,
it was fun.
At the time, it may have been like, yeah, it's the evolution of technology. But yes.
But even when I saw it, when I was much younger, when we still had that internet dial-up, even then I was like, that's clearly just someone's face painted on a porcelain vase.
Of course, yeah.
But it had so many cool features to it, that movie. The song was great.
Yeah, that's what stuck to my head more than anything. Anytime I nearly sang it.
Live and Let Die. The villain was cool in Baron Samedi. I love the ending when he's sitting on the train, not dead, going, ha 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 ha. I mean, it was great. It was fun, cheesy Bond, but I've got it at number 9 because even now I'm having difficulty remembering specific details about it. I remember the plot was not great. I love the idea of the voodoo. The Bond girl in it, the actress whose name I can't remember, it was stunningly beautiful. Here's one scene I remember from it. She had the tarot cards, and Bond gets into bed with her by having all the tarot cards of the same bed.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Pure Bond.
This is what it was. As you said, it's the Bond cheese. It's halfway for me because it's not my favourite. It's got the elements that you love. Yeah. It's got every Bond bit that you want, and I have it there. As you said, it's got its faults, but it's got its Bondness, which is fantastic. Right.
All right, so you've done 6 and 5, so what's your 4 and 3?
Here we go. License to Kill.
License to Kill. Okay, I've got that a little bit lower. So, yeah, we can talk. We can talk. Go for it.
We've had Bond, right? He's now an agent. He had limitations. I'm not saying that we want a mass murderer, but in the name it says it all.
Yeah, he got quite rough in this, didn't he?
This is it. It goes
You don't
deeper.
need to go grittier than this. This is what the Bond doesn't need to be grittier than this, and this was quite.
I'm gonna steal a line that you said in the intro. It's the difference between Bond and Bourne.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's the James Bond limit.
That's the limit. I agree.
That's the James Bond limit.
Yeah, I remember License to Kill being one of the most violent.
Yeah, and it's that he has. It's there. It was. You've got violence. It's still got the Bond element, as you said. I'm just going over in circles here.
The Bond girls in it were.
But it's more action. It's more action. It was the action. It took Bond to another level,
and it was more ingrained in reality. I mean, who is he trying to take down? A drug dealer, a drug lord. Sorry, not a drug dealer, a drug lord. With his
a lord is a dealer, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah, don't get high on your own supply. With a nasty little sidekick in a 17-year-old Benicio del Toro. He was 17, man. You watch the cast at the beginning, like the last name that comes up is Benicio. You think about that now, and it's like that doesn't sit right.
Yeah, but talking of that, just on a small tangent, be sure to tune in on Thursdays because you get those kind of throwbacks of really that happened then every Thursday. Silver Screen Dudes.
10 years old, 20 years old. Catch us then, guys. Back to Bond. Speaking of the violence, actually, the grittiness of the way the deaths were. Do you remember the deaths? Like Benicio del Toro gets put in a grinder, and they show him being chopped up while still alive. It was like, oh, Jesus. And then the Sanchez, the villain. You remember how he dies?
I remember. Do you know the grinder was my?
You remember the lighter? He's covered in oil.
Yeah.
It was like, this is quite heavy for a Bond movie. And Felix Leiter being tortured and bitten by the tiger shark. It was like, Jesus. I mean, wow.
he used the license.
Didn't he just? And then again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, this is it's not the only one, but it's one of the many times you usher back to Bond's past and his vulnerability. You know, Felix mentions to his new wife, Bella, that he had a wife once, but that was long ago. And Dalton was not a bad Bond. He's not, I wouldn't even put him in the top 3. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, we can talk about who the best Bond is, favourite Bond, worst one, blah, blah, blah. They've all served a purpose and brought something new to the role, except Nevin.
Personally speaking, prior, you know, you have your stages of Bond, and all right, hands down, I'm just going to put it out there now, Pierce Brosnan is quite high in mine. And had it not been for Pierce Brosnan's appearance, I would have had Dalton in the top 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so with that just proves, you know, obviously each new wave of Bond will alter the listing of where you put your Bonds. But
funny story about Dalton, actually. They wanted him to be Sean Connery's follow-up. Okay. But when they approached him, he thought he was too young. And it was more than once they approached him. Yeah, I think they approached him once during the Roger Moore era, and he was busy with other engagements, which is why, believe it or not, Roger Moore actually did more Bond movies than Sean Connery. Okay. Sean Connery did 7. Roger Moore did 8. Now, so I know some people who know their Bond well are going to say, like, no, they both did 8. But Never Say Never, which is when Sean Connery made his return. What's the thing that marks every Bond intro? Didn't happen. Never Say Never was actually a spin-off Bond. It wasn't in the official James Bond MGM production. So for me, Sean Connery did 7 official Bonds with the spin-off. Roger Moore, believe it or not, did 8, and they wanted to cut him short with Timothy Dalton.
Okay, that's interesting.
So Dalton was on MGM's radar for a long time, and he only got the 2 movies.
Honestly, shoot me for it if you want to, but rightfully so. I don't think he was that. But as I said,
he wasn't bad.
He could fall in my top 5.
Well, there's only 6.
But there you go then. Yeah, so he was good. He was good.
Yeah, he was
at one point a top 3. Yeah, and he's gone down. So.
That was your number 4, right?
Yes, that was number 4.
Number 3?
The Man with the Golden Gun.
You went there. I wanted to put that on my list. I really wanted to. God rest Christopher Lee, the great Scaramanga, the Man with the Golden Gun himself. I just missed out. It's an honourable mention. It was my number 11.
You had your reasons for not.
Simply because my numbers 6 through to my number 1, I like more than GoldenEye. But not GoldenEye, Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
But I really struggled to not put it on there.
I think it just comes down to preferences then, because to me, well, as you can see, it went further than an honourable mention. Christopher Lee, Scaramanga.
A man who can go toe to toe with 007.
It's exactly that. You've got the total package. And
although I would have liked to see Christopher Lee and Sean Connery going toe to toe more than Christopher Lee and Roger Moore.
That would have just been epic movies, and I think had that happened, it wouldn't have been an honourable mention for you. It would have been.
It would have been in there.
It would have been in there,
definitely.
But it's a fantastic movie. It toe to toe. It's that you've got your Bond element. It's
set in Thailand. Lived there for 10 years.
Yeah, the setting is right. The villain is right. Bond was right. Arguably, you could have had a better Bond.
Yeah.
Gadgets was right. It's the elements of what you need in Bond, and a Bond villain of matching this. However, I do have a greater Bond villain, which I will come to later on.
Well, we all do. Yeah, a few actually.
Yeah.
A quick funny story for you guys about the Man with the Golden Gun. When I was living out in Thailand, a lot of people who I met wanted to go and see the set where they filmed Man with the Golden Gun, which is close to where I was living. You remember that little beach at the end where they do their 10 walk, facing fire, Tan and Fire, and that big rock where the laser comes out? That rock's actually real. It looks exactly like that. It's spectacular. It's called Pangnar Bay if you're interested in going. Go with a private boat because there's loads of tourists there and you will get stuck in a tourist trap. Main point of this story, though, is that a few people who I recommended to go there came back really pissed off, PG-13. They came back saying, yeah, we were expecting a laser to be on the rock. The true story. And I was like, are you for real? How much budget do you think these Bond movies have? Do you think it's like what Peter Jackson did in Lord of the Rings and he's just going to leave the sets there, or Popeye Village in Malta? It's like, no, there's no laser coming out the rock. The true story.
You know what? It's expectation. It's expectation. It's hope. You can't always
It's the cheesiness of Bond.
It's the cheese, but this is it. This is the cheesiness of Bond that we buy into. So this is what you look out for. You look out for a laser because it's Bond, because it's there. You're actually on set. You want to see exactly it. Do you know what? That's what makes Disneyland what it is. You're in a set. People, you don't want to just see, oh, that was the location minus the laser. You want it all. And that was that. Okay, it's heartbreaking, but it just proves how iconic that laser was, how iconic that film was, how iconic that scene was.
Mother Rock.
Not Dwayne Johnson, but
No, not that rock.
Yeah.
Was that your...
That there was my number 3, so it's over to you.
All right, over to me. My number 6 we've already talked about was License to Kill. We don't need to say more on that. That was my number 6. Number 5, Spy Who Loved Me. Is it on your list?
It wasn't. It was tempted to. It was tempting. It was.
I love this one, man. Okay, Spy Who Loved Me. These are the moments I remember the Spy Who Loved Me. Our introduction to Jaws. Richard Keel. One of the biggest bad...
It isn't, sorry. Yes.
Spy Who Loved Me,
Yeah, it was further up, yes.
Oh yeah, we punted, didn't we?
This is it, yeah. This was the top, yes.
Okay, so we punted. So it is on our list. It was your number what?
Funny enough, number 8.
Shame on you. So it's our introduction to Richard Keel as a guy who can... Beyond what Scaramanga did in shooting ability, this guy could actually, smack Bond around, which was awesome to see. It had that, oh God, I'll never forget that scene with the Lotus that transformed into the submarine. I mean, you want to talk about Bond gadgetry. What a moment. What a moment. It's time to say goodbye to an uninvited guest. I was like, yeah. It had... in my opinion, the best Bond girl of all time, Mr. Ringo Starr's wife, Barbara Bach. I mean, I don't care what she looks like now. She's probably still gorgeous. I haven't checked. But my God, I watched that movie and I just go, oh my God, she's divine. I mean, angel of a girl. Villain, gadgets, Bond girl, underwater man, right? It had an underwater lair. It had an underwater lair. It had a table with a gun that shoots all the way. So you invite your guy to sit down and then you show him. It was just so cool. And the guy's got glasses. And the way he kills I don't know why I said glasses, but the way he kills people is like he presses a button and they fall down the chute into a shark tank. And then they get devoured, and then Jaws, talk about a little funny moment here, gets dropped into the shark tank and bites the shark. I was like, yeah, it's awesome. It's such fun.
I paused because I think the more you remind me, the more I regret
putting it at number 8.
Number 8.
Yeah, it's
come down. Don't get me wrong. I think I'll put it at number 5 because living.
You're sticking it at 5 like me, huh?
Yeah, I'm
okay,
cool. I'm going to swap it round. I'm going to swap License to Kill. Live and Let Die, and Spy Who Loved Me round because it's too much. The more you talk, the more the memories float in.
It's such a good one.
What stuck to my head was the introduction to Jaws, but then each scene you've mentioned is this is Bond. This is Bond.
Oh, and just before it turns into a Lotus Elise, they're chasing him on the motorbike, and the sidecar of the motorbike's a torpedo, and it's like. It's so cheesy, but not too far. Again, it's that line we were talking about with the Dalton and the aggression. This is Roger Moore and the cheesiness. This is borderline, but it works. It's such fun. God, it's a good movie.
That's a big one to me.
All right. My number 4. This better be on your list. Oh, my God. Oh, okay. Is it on your list? Goldfinger.
Goldfinger, yes.
Goldfinger's on your list?
It is.
All right, so we'll punt for it. We'll punt for it. My number 3, is You Only Live Twice.
It's not on my list.
What?
It's not on my list. It's a good... No.
How? Are you insane?
Do you know what, baby?
You need to explain to me why not before I explain why.
I look at my list and I don't regret the list. And, you know, I think we look at Tomorrow Never Dies technology and whatnot.
Now, you see how I made him change his mind about Spy Who Loved Me a minute ago? Now, give him a moment, but I'm going to make him change his mind about You Only Live Twice.
Do you know why You Only Live Twice isn't on the list? It's because,
No, I don't.
Because of my anticipation of Spectre, right? And my...
But you haven't seen Spectre.
But it's because I've done that. It's not that it's not a good film. It's not that it's not a good film. It's a perfect film. But when I've taken elements, maybe, you know, I've put Moonraker in, which for the arguable sake, I left it low. And I think it's because of where I couldn't put You Only Live Twice in, because I'm not changing my 1 and 2. I couldn't find a place to place it. It's kind of like what you had with The Man with the Golden Gun. It's where do you place it in it? It's not like I don't like
Very
it.
easily at number 3.
It deserves to be in there.
Yes, it does. And now I'll tell you why it deserves to be in there. Have you seen a movie called Austin Powers?
Of course.
My secret underground volcano lair. Where do you think that comes from? The volcano lair is from You Only Live Twice. The piranha pit is from You Only Live Twice. James Bond trained to become a ninja. I mean, in Japan. It was awesome. And more to the point, most importantly, why is this a must-have? Not in any Bond list. It has to be top 3. Who is Bond's ultimate nemesis? Not in terms of who is the best villain, not in terms of who posed the greatest challenge to him. Story-wise, who was Bond's greatest nemesis? Slavo Blofeld. The leader of Spectre.
Yeah.
It is the first time you see his face. Played by the late, great Donald Pleasance. You see that chair, you see the cat, and you're like, oh my God, are we about to see him? Yes. And he's brilliant. It's Bond's biggest villain, and he's not on your list. How? He's about to change his mind, watch.
I'm going to stick with it. I will stick.
Yeah.
Because I have the list that I stuck to. I can swap them around. If I'd done it, if I do it, it's because...
You must be careful, because I'm going to push for this not only to be on the list, I'm pushing for this to be on the Mount Rushmore.
That, do you know what? I knew you would have it, and I knew that's why it would fit into a Rushmore. I don't dispute it being in the Rushmore.
But no, but the
it's not on
Rushmore
my
has
list.
to come from
It
both of our
It has
lists.
to come from both of our lists. I don't deny that. All right.
If you don't dispute it being on the Mount Rushmore, by definition, it has to be on your
It has
list.
to be on my list. It's because my 9 and 10 are arguable and
Very bad and not seen.
bad and not seen. I know, but that's why I kept them low. I had my reasons, and okay. I didn't want you to change my mind twice, and that's why I'm sticking to my argument. I'm sticking to my argument.
That's basically saying I've changed his mind twice. Go on, fold. Fold. Do it.
Are we saying fold because it's Bond and it's card games? Yeah, okay. This happened on the pilot of the Mount Rushmore of movies, right? But this will not happen again.
And just the way
I
the
will not be
Doctor No is a blueprint for all Bond movies, this will be a blueprint for all Mount Rushmore.
It will not happen twice. I will shake your hand.
And you will put
Gentlemen.
You Only Live Twice
I will put
in
it,
the list.
It will go in the list because, by definition, if I agree and I know it's going to go in the Rushmore, I should have it on my list. And what I'm going to do, because you're wondering what I'm taking out, I'm scrapping Moonraker. Yes, it was Bond in space. Yes, it was something new.
You're leaving Spectre in there still? All right, cool. It's your list.
When we review the movie later on, subscribe to see that movie review. I guarantee you, it will be worth it. Right?
Every Tuesday and Thursday movie reviews.
We know that film will be in there. It's just that we haven't seen it yet. Moonraker, we know is bad. We know it's overachieved, and that's why I'm going to keep it in. Right?
You're losing Moonraker for...
Yeah, I will lose Moonraker.
Okay, cool.
Not that I'm putting it at number 9. I will have to reshuffle and put it in there because, as I said, it's a spoiler. It's a guaranteed top 4. So
Fair
that's
enough.
there.
I agree with those.
So yeah,
All right.
it's in there.
Your number 2 then, and then I'll go my number 2.
It's one that you put a bit further down. Goldfinger.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, go on.
Odd Job.
Odd Job.
Odd Job. We have a perfect Bond villain, and not in Odd Job, but he's the perfect henchman. You see this diminutive guy who you don't know what to expect, but what comes from it is the hat. We have this rotating hat. We have this guy who you wouldn't expect to be a threat, but he's dangerous. You know, there was that. It's got the elements. You nearly sliced the camera there. No, but it's a childhood memory to me more than anything else. I just remember seeing this and thinking, well, what are we
Do you
looking
expect
at?
me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
These are the lines that you get and you expect from Bond. This is the element of the Bond. You have the gadgets. You have the unbelievable villains. You have the gadgets, the threats. These are the threats that you get from... So, as you said, do you expect me to talk? No, I expect you to die. That is Bond.
More to the point, what you're forgetting, right, is that I mentioned earlier Thunderball was a continuation of Goldfinger in the gadgetry. The Aston Martin. Man, this Aston Martin was so revered throughout James Bond, they even brought it back. You haven't seen Skyfall, which is why it's not on your list. You know that they brought the Aston Martin back for Skyfall, that same one with the eject button. That's how iconic it is.
Just remind me, where was Goldfinger on your list?
4. It's in my top 4. It has to be.
All right.
And I'll say the reasons again. The iconicity of it. The fact that the car, it is, I've said a few times, a guy who can go toe-to-toe with Bond, a guy who can slap Bond about. This was the first guy who could slap Bond about. This was going back as far as we go, Odd Job, slap Bond about.
Yeah.
Badly, all right? It's there, but I don't put it higher than You Only Live Twice, because that's the ultimate villain revelation. That went for 10 years. Who is this leader of Spectre? That was 10 years in the making that we waited to see that. Or more, I think. And my other two, which I haven't said yet, I've got damn good reasons for putting higher than Goldfinger. Goldfinger is up there.
Okay. No problem.
He ain't going to change my mind.
I was just trying to bring you down a notch.
No, you're trying to change my mind.
No, not change your mind, just bring you down a notch. But I think we're at a number that we can agree with. Okay, do I reveal my number 1?
Not quite yet. Let me go with my number 2.
it.
My number 2, don't hate on him because he hasn't seen this one. My number 2 is Skyfall. Let me put it this way. I enjoyed this movie. I'm not the biggest Daniel Craig fan. Yes, I was one of the people who got on the Craig, not Bond bandwagon, Mr. James Blonde. I'm not a fan, all right? He's grown on me, and it was because of Skyfall that he's grown on me, all right? I know people love Casino Royale. Oh, yeah, it was a poker movie. It was a poker movie with a guy who cried blood a bit. I was like, yeah, Mads Mikkelsen, great actor, great villain, but it kind of disappointed me. Skyfall, directed by Sam Mendes. Oof, what a movie. I liked it so much, this might shock you, because I think we're going to have the same number 1. I actually started thinking, well, this is my number 1. It's that good. And the criticism I've always had of Daniel Craig, which he changed for me in this movie, is the fact that he wasn't smooth. He didn't have that suave of Brosnan and Connery.
This is what I've had a problem
with. Well, there's one little moment, I wish they'd done more of it, and I hope to see it in Spectre, but there's one little moment right in the intro scene where he jumps from one train carriage inside another, and just as he's jumping, he adjusts his cufflink and tells her, yes! There you go. That's what I'm talking about, you know? And it had a great villain in Javier Bardem. Brilliant actor, Oscar winner, and intimidating as hell. And the scary thing about him, he wanted to screw James Bond. Sexually. That's his intro. He walks in and he gives this little monologue about rats and stuff, and then he comes up and he's like stroking him. Now, the great line is that Mr. Bond says, "What makes you think you're my first?" And he goes, "Oh, Mr. Bond." It was fantastic. This contradiction of this really helpless, almost cartoonish homosexual versus this malicious, thoughtful, vindictive, vengeful villain played by a world-class actor. It had a bit more of the gadgetry. It was Q was brought back in, not obviously the late Desmond Llewellyn, but Q, who they introduced. No, it wasn't this movie. He was introducing you in this movie, so for that reason also, I think it kind of got back to the roots of Bond. because those are my issues with Casino Royale and Quantum, you know?
Sure.
It was like, yeah,
It's missing.
it's missing. I need the gadgets. And Q coming back in, and he's again in Spectre. I was like, okay, we're back on track here. We've got the cuffling, the tie, we've got the bad villain,
Gadgets.
we've got the gadgets. Yeah, we're on the right track. So Skyfall, I mean, shot is beautiful. The way this movie was shot by Sam Mendes was stunning. We've got to do our number one now.
Okay, I believe we've kind of hinted at it, and I believe we're on the same page. Okay. Before we get done for copyright infringement, I'm gonna go with it. The man himself, Mr. Pierce Brosnan, in his debut.
Oh yes,
The GoldenEye.
GoldenEye. That is the one. You want to talk about an all-star package of, was there ever a man to challenge Connery for the throne of Bond?
I questioned it.
Oh, I didn't.
I questioned, could he take it? You know.
Do you know what? If his movies hadn't deteriorated so badly, I would have said that he would. That first shot when he's in the facility in Arkhangelsk in Georgia, and he goes up to the wall, and they've just got that shot of light that goes across his face, and he's got the Walther PPK there, and I was like, man, this is Bond.
Yeah.
Is Bond. Connery is back from the dead. Bond's been reinvented again. And there's been so many posts on Facebook, on all of the American movie press sites about who's the best Bond. My answer, and forever until I'm proven wrong, shall remain, Connery created Bond. Brosnan perfected Bond. And what a villain.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back to point one. Connery created Bond. Brosnan perfected it.
In that role, I would say. Not throughout his Bond.
That's where my...
in that role.
Yeah, okay. Because as we agree...
It got worse and worse.
It got worse. But as I said, even looking back at it, it was enough for me to still put Tomorrow Never Dies in, because he'd done such a good job that you could still feel the Bond element from him.
Yeah.
So, no, definitely. But yeah, now going on to the next point. Who better to be the villain?
00.
The 00. The man before him, 006. And do you know what? Sean Bean just done perfect.
Oh.
Perfect. I don't think anyone else could have been casted. And it's really funny because really...
He brought everything together, didn't he? He knew everything about Bond. He knew to fight as well as Bond, to shoot. He knew how to plan. He had, intel. He had backing. He had revenge. I mean, he had everything on his side. He knew how to disarm Bond's gadgets. Still click here twice, don't I? Tick, tick. Is that... Oh God, he's just screwed you. He's just done you completely.
While you're doing that, it reminds me of like clicking the pen. I wish I could flick it. But
come here.
Go for it. Yeah, that's the one.
Give me the codes, Natalia. Give them to me. Oh my God, I love this movie.
I don't believe I've watched any Bond movie as many times as I've watched GoldenEye.
But it just had everything. The Aston was there, and the setting at the end, that big satellite dish in Cuba. I'm sorry, it wasn't an Aston. It was a BMW he was driving. He drove the old Aston at the beginning and then changed it to the BM. Yeah, my apologies. Gorgeous blonde girls. One of them, who was intimidating as hell, and Famke Janssen, I was semi-turned on by the fact that she would kill people. Well, I was like, all right, well,
if there is a way to go, sign me up.
Yeah, Isabella Scorupco, who gorgeous and very good Bond girl. You've got Felix was in. Felix wasn't in, but Wade, the CIA agent, was in there.
Yeah.
You had that brilliant scene with Q, when he's showing. Now, behind the headlights, Stinger missiles, a pen, 3 clicks to arm the pen, 3 arms to disarm it. Yeah, we'll try it on Jerry here. Sorry, Jerry. 3, 2, 1, boom. Don't touch that. It's my lunch. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Everything worked in this movie.
It's got the cheesy lines. Also, something else that could be mentioned, and something people didn't think would work, but did. Judi Dench.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who would have
She
thought?
dies in Skyfall, by the way. Spoiler. But the way they dealt with it, I was like...
I think, people were like, a female M. Yes. Yeah, it
This
works.
is an example of what happens when you cast a female in a main role, that it works. We're not against women having a main role or not
Fully
in movies,
support it,
but
as
there's
long as-
rumours going around of James Bond being a female cast. What's his first name?
James.
Do you know any females called James?
Not.
I would
to
like
my
to meet
knowledge.
a female James Bond, or not, depending on your point of view. But why don't we just, I don't know, let's cast Daniel Craig as Catwoman.
Hey, it might well be that.
It's political correctness gone mad. James Bond is and forever shall be a man. I don't care what race he is. Cast Idris Elba as the next Bond. We'll get on to who you think the next Bond should be.
Yeah,
in a
I'm
minute.
gonna say
Not the point, all right? M transitioned brilliantly because the role of M was supposed to be the leader of MI6, not a man or a woman. It was the leader, and it showed a powerful woman being a leader, and it worked brilliantly. Your predecessor left a bottle of brandy. I prefer bourbon. I was like, school, Mr. 007.
It was.
I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of a bygone age, who should be down in my archives instead of sitting in front of me. I was like, yeah.
And he had to sit there and take it.
Yeah.
He had to sit there and take it. And
above everything, we got again into Bond's vulnerable side. Epitomized perfectly. For England, James?
No, for revenge. Correct me, help me.
No, for me.
For me, it is revenge. Yeah, it's personally, I'm with you.
It's personal.
It was personal. It was personal. And it was
God,
just,
I love this movie.
I look back and it was everything.
It had everything.
Everything. The gadgets, the ladies,
song.
the song. It was fantastic.
Tina Turner
Tina
at her
Turner.
roaring best, man. Come on.
It was. I'm sure it topped the charts for both sides, if I'm not mistaken.
If I
Yeah.
remember right, yeah, which
Yeah.
is why I don't get a lot of people not liking on this song. It's just genius.
Yeah, perfect soundtrack. Bond girls, Bond cars,
Location.
Bond villains, location, anticipate. Oh, it had everything.
And a great new Bond.
Yeah,
A great new Bond.
it was a perfect reintroduction to Bond.
It was like Connery appearing for the first time in Dr. No. It was so perfect. We are running the hell out of time. We need to make a Mount Rushmore.
Okay. Well, I think
Well, we're looking in GoldenEye number 1.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, I'm putting GoldenEye number 1.
GoldenEye number 1.
GoldenEye number 1. Now we need to come up with the other 3 must-see Bond movies. Now remember, guys, this isn't what we think are the best 3 or arguing over our favorite 3. These are
The must-see, the quintessential.
must-sees.
Right. The one that wasn't on my list, but I think it will go at number 2. You Only Live Twice.
Do you know what? I've just heard myself speak just now about how the must-sees. Do you think if people were to only watch 4 James Bonds, the impact of seeing Blofeld for the first time would be the same if that was only one of the 4 they watched?
Let's take that element away. Let's take that element away and mention everything
Mention
else.
it in terms of its importance.
Even the Austin Power influence, the gadgetry, the villains. Yeah, it's got all the parts that make you think, wow. It's the build up to it.
First time I fell in love with an Asian woman. Akiko Wakabayashi, wow. It had ninjas.
Yeah, it's got tons. It's got the element of Bond. If you want to see the elements of Bond, as you said, which then created the spoof of Bond, it was from that movie. GoldenEye had no influence on that.
it was all You Only Live Twice.
So,
All right,
it has to be in there.
it has to be
in there.
It's because of its importance. You only live twice. I'll give you that. 3, I think we're going to agree on. 4's going to be tough.
Right.
3, go for it. I think I know what you're going to put. But can I punt?
I'm gonna
If you want to.
I'm gonna go for Spy Who Loved Me.
Really?
Where you were going.
Yeah, because I was going nuts about it. Yeah, and I love it. I was going to go number 3, Goldfinger.
That was gonna be my number 4.
All right, I'm looking at the list now. Goldfinger has to be in there for reasons we've already agreed on, right? Okay, so we've got a Brosnan, we've got a Connery, got 2 Connerys, Goldfinger. Oh, I want to put Skyfall in there because
It's difficult without me seeing it. I'll agree with you. It sounds interesting, but I can't.
Do you know why I
can't
might-
put the vote in without?
Do you know why I might go? You Only Live, Spy Who Loved Me, because as I was telling to people already, as I was telling to our viewers already, you need to see the different dimensions of James Bond, and I think no movie captured the tongue-in-cheek cheesiness, gadgetry, stunts, and just madness excluding Mooncrapper, that The Spy Who Loved Me did. I mean, yeah, it has to be in there. You cannot say to people who James Bond is without showing him that scene with a car transforming into a submarine.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. All right. Then just quickly, go through your top 10 again. I'll go through, just quickly. 10 through to 1.
There is a slight... I'm going to keep it the way it was written as opposed to...
Yeah, and then we'll give our Mount Rushmore.
Right, so it's number 10, Spectre. Number 9, Moonraker. Number 8, The Spy Who Loved Me. Number 7, Dr. No. Number 6, Tomorrow Never Dies. 5, Live and Let Die. Number 4, License to Kill. 3, The Man with the Golden Gun. 2, Goldfinger. And number 1, GoldenEye. As you can see, I'm trending with gold in my top 3.
Yeah, I like gold. All right, my 10 through to 1 were Thunderball, Live and Let Die, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, License to Kill, The Spy Who Loved Me, Goldfinger, You Only Live Twice, Skyfall, and GoldenEye. And our movie Mount Rushmore. We agree?
We do.
You good list? All right. The 4 Bond movies, if you have never seen a Bond movie, if you're someone who wants to revisit some of the best of Bond, if you want to introduce someone to Bond, the 4 must see Bond movies are The Spy Who Loved Me,
Goldfinger,
You Only Live Twice,
and are locked in. No argument
untouchable.
whatsoever. The one and only 007 at its best, GoldenEye.
Great computer game too. All right, guys, we got a few questions for you now, just before we wrap it up. We're going to answer, and then we want to know what you have to think. AJ, who is your favorite Bond?
Connery.
Mine too, Connery. Guys, question to you. Your favorite Bond? Comment below, please. Up next. We're going to finish with this one. Who is your favorite Bond girl?
I've toggled in my brain, and you mentioned her earlier, and I thought, you know what, this is it. That's the one. I'm going to start it right back from the beginning.
Honey Rider.
Honey Rider. It was difficult, but even the fact that it was recreated with Halle Berry, it's too much. Because of what she done, we knew we needed to have a Bond girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For me, it's Barbara Bach from The Spy Who Loved Me, married Ringo Starr. This is the first, because I watched this when I was very young. This is the first time where, I don't want to say objectified, because I was too young to objectify. Appreciate and
was aware of.
You know how every sort of 5 to 10 years there's this new Hollywood honey who comes along, even though these were British films. But I was just goo-goo about Barbara Bach, and still am. You put Spy Who Loved Me, and I'm gone.
I understand.
So Honey Rider, played by Ursula Andrews, and Barbara Bach. Those are our 2 Bond girls. Gentlemen.
Ladies. Anyone. Everyone's entitled to this.
Whatever you like. Mainly gentlemen. Ladies, comment too. Who do you think was the best used Bond girl? Ladies, for ladies, how do you think the Bond girls were best used in terms of not over-sexualizing them or marginalizing them and giving them a significant role within the movie? Fellas, you know what I'm asking. Who's your favorite Bond girl? All right. What should we do next? Favorite Bond movie we know is GoldenEye. Guys, we want to know, as well as what your top 10 Bond movies are, what's your favorite Bond movie?
Let's see if we can find the recurring number 1.
You're going to find GoldenEye is going to be in there a lot, I think.
I would like to think so.
Certainly for our generation.
I would like to think so.
Now, here's the tough one. New Bond.
You see, I've heard a lot of talk of... if we can... This is going to really expand. There's been a lot of talk of Idris Elba, and then there's been a lot of talk of Jane Bond. Right, I'm not dismissing Jane Bond because I don't want a woman there. My thing is...
No, I'm dismissing James Bond because he's a man.
But this is it. I'm going to go with the fact that it needs to remain a man.
Yes, absolutely.
That's one. I think if you want a female spy, go for it. I'm all for it.
008.
You can spin off.
005. Spin off. We are in the world of franchising. And
007 is a number. It's not the only number.
And I know
that.
Just for those of you out there listening now who are going to disagree with this and who are saying, well, why not? Why? Why not make Superman a woman? They've made Thor a woman. Why not make Black Panther a white guy? Why not make Catwoman played by Daniel Craig or Dave Bautista? For what?
There's no.
You know, Ghostbusters all-female cast. I can swallow that because the Ghostbusters were not defined by being men. James Bond is defined by his male sexuality. Part of being a man is about him. He's not defined by being a white guy. He's not defined, if Idris Elba plays him, I don't think Elba's color, being a black guy, is going to define him. He's a smooth talking guy who's a great actor, which is why he could be Bond. It's not who I'd pick, but he'd be a good Bond, although I think he's getting on a bit. He's not a woman. 001, 2, 3, 4, 5, not 6.
To infinity.
To infinity and beyond, guys, all right? What up, movie reference?
Right.
But James Bond should remain a man. Ladies,
Exactly.
comment below on what you think. Do you think we're being sexist, misogynist dinosaurs like M called James Bond? Or do you agree that Bond should be a man?
We have places for spin-offs, and that's where I believe it is. I believe 007. You can have a film with the two of them, and then you've got a franchise of its own. But that's another argument completely for another show. We've gone on way too long. I'm tempted to go with Elba based... Do you know what? It's because I'm looking at possible other top British actors, because that
There's a few. There's
a few.
There's
Right.
2 or 3.
Do you know another one that's coming to my head?
Go on.
Fassbender?
Yeah, he was going to be one of the 3 I mentioned.
That would be one that will come into my head. I've seen a lot of popularity with Idris Elba, and I can stick with that. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's something different. You have to go to the book to disagree with it, because when you start talking about the way James Bond's hair flowed, it wouldn't come off of a black guy. And this is a black guy saying it. There is no hate in it. Idris, if you've got it, you've got my full support that way. But it's just going back to the origins of the book. But stuff can change. Nick Fury is now black. The Kingpin was once black. I'm not opposed to that.
But don't change the roles, race or sexuality, especially sexuality, just for the sake of it, because we're in the political correctness age of why not? Because I'll always say why.
It's just not needed. But I believe if we're going into that era, we don't have to go into colour, because that's something totally different. And I think any top British actors, Idris Elba is 100%
he's up there,
up
man.
But if I had my definition of looking at a Bond, the suaveness, and Idris has got all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Just keeping in the mold.
He's a
of
little
what we
bit
know.
straight. Little bit.
The argument's come up before, but
We need to have
as
this
you
up.
said, the age is against him as well.
He's
I believe.
47 now.
Yeah, but if we're taking suaveness and the mold of Bond, I'm going to put Michael Fassbender.
I like anything, I find it. Fassbender is one of my 3. Now, it depends. Again, comment about this, guys. It depends which way they want to go. You know how they've reinvented Bond to be this gritty, realistic guy. If they stick with that gritty route for Bond, I'm going to pick Tom Hardy. Because he is gritty, he's rugged, he's manly. I've seen Warrior. The man can kick ass, like badly. I don't know if he's smooth and suave, but I don't find Craig to be particularly smooth and suave. So I'm thinking about this more in the scope of not who's going to be the best Bond in the traditional sense of the world, but as a continuation of the Craig incarnation of Bond, I would go with Hardy. Now, if they want to go back and reintroduce the tongue-in-cheek element of Bond, Fassbender would be good. Loki.
Ooh.
Tom Hiddleston. Get rid of the long hair. I know he's got a bit of a hook nose. Just saying. But if you're doing tongue-in-cheek, that comedy Bond, if you doubt me, go to YouTube and go to Alan Carr's Chatty Man with Tom Hiddleston. Man, he's smooth.
He's smooth.
Man, he's smooth.
And I'm not being disrespectful here. I don't know if I see the frame. I don't know if he can convince me
Gal
to be...
Gadot is Wonder Woman. An Israeli model is now the beefiest woman in comic book history. You can bulk.
You can bulk.
You think Captain America... I know Chris Evans is in great shape, but there are a lot of them where...
I'm aware.
He's
Tom Hardy I can work with. Tom Hardy I can work with. Tom Hiddleston, fantastic actor. Bond, not just yet. You can convince me. I'm open to being proven wrong. But Hardy, maybe. Fassbender, very likely.
could, yeah.
And Idris, hey, take it.
Take it while you can, man. Because they say black don't crack, if you'll allow me to say. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to crack one day.
But yeah, but it's longevity in it. You're not going to take over.
You don't want to do a Timothy Dalton.
Yeah,
take the role too late.
I don't want him to do it just because we had a black Bond. I would like to see a stretch in it. And age is not, we have to be realistic no matter which way we look at it. It is going to be a factor. But
Guys,
I'm open to it. I'd like to see it.
Who do you think should be Bond? That's our last question to you. You've got our Mount Rushmore. You've got our questions. I think we're going to get a lot of hate and a lot of love for this top 10. I don't think there's many more divisive characters than the great 007. But now you've heard the perspective from two British boys on what we think of our homegrown hero. All right, guys? So remember, you can catch our top 10 show every week on Silver Screen Dudes. You can find us on Facebook, like us there, follow us on Twitter, and hit us up on Instagram.
All right, so from myself, Anthony Jordan.
From myself, Nicola Rowe.
Catch you later.
See you guys.